I think the opposition candidate deserves the blame.
I say we blame someone and we blame him now.
No, let's make it look like an insider thing so we can get rid of Jones and his whole troubadour troupe.
Okay. Oh, boy. Okay. Hello? Yeah. What? Hello? Is anyone there? I say we just pick one of a dozen no-good-for-nothing third-world countries and blame the whole thing on them. I don't see a problem with that. Do you see a problem with that? Mr. President, is there a problem with that? Oh, for goodness sakes, we've done it 1,000 times. Why is everyone so squeamish all of a sudden?
That's why it's important not just to tell them that it's going to be a war that's going to be at least 25 years long.
I'm disgusted by your wimpiness.
Sure, people are going to complain at first.
Look, you gentlemen know, no. Look, all of us are on the payroll of
Tell them it's just a skirmish that we're trying to deal with from day to day.
Well, it would be nice to take over the entire world, wouldn't it? But could we organize that?
So that people will expect to have to serve in the army when they're in kindergarten.
Could I name a continent after myself or my dog?
Multi-billionaires whose interests are that we continue to proliferate.
You better make sure that's in print.
Whose interests are that we continue to proliferate.
No, you can't accuse me of that.
Whose interests are that we maintain a gigantic military-industrial complex.
I know what you're up to.
Look,
you just want a vacation in Europe. You want those exotic foreign cookies, don't you?
Whose interests are that we continue to expand and engorge the military-industrial complex.
Hello?
I don't want to hear about budgets being diverted.
Look, if our basic intention is to create a cookie-producing factory in that country, I think it's important that we disguise it by saying it's an issue of national security that we occupy that land and...
Oh, Mr. High and Mighty, creating peace initiatives.
That's it then. Okie dokie.
What do they need freedom for? They're squandering it. Yeah, okay, goodbye.
Freedom schmeedom. Soon people will forget all that silly stuff. The problem is that you've got to get the internal infighters out of this administration right now. I say we pin it on one of those boneheads in Congress and clean house in the next election.
No, you idiot. Don't you realize we can't further our absurd and ridiculous foreign policy if we don't have enemies out there to blame things on?
Now, we've got a lot of important people who expect to be made happy.
I'm not arguing about that. They'll be happy fine with a huge, false, multilateral threat.
Look, some people will say that it's useless to have a giant missile defense system when someone could just basically float a balloon with a bomb on it over the fence. But you have to keep in mind the investment that's part of our entire multi-industrial nationalist... You have to keep in mind how tied we are in with the national... No. You have to realize that our interests in the military-industrial complex are very important.
Look, I'm just saying that the idea of a false multinational enemy who's out there plotting our demise every single second will benefit all of us in the long run. That's where the industrial
military complex has all its investment. We've got to make progress. We've got to keep those things being built.
Exactly. Listen, we want the same things, but you just keep pushing your agenda. I've got enemies, you've got enemies.
Well, I want some of my enemies taken out now.
I want some of my enemies taken out now.
It's not my fault that most of your enemies happen to be overseas ambassadors and countries.
That's worse than you having enemies who happen to be some of the people sitting at this table.
You cad, you liar, you filthy scumbag. I never said I had any enemies who were sitting at this table.
Well, you and I aren't exactly friends, huh? Who do you think's the first to fall if you get your way? And don't think I'm not noticing that you've been taking my cookies. You took 3 cookies last night at dinner instead of the usual 2, and one of them was mine.
I never touched your cookies. Why would I need your cookies when I've got plenty of cookies of my own? Matter of fact, you owe me a cookie.
I do not owe you a cookie. I don't owe you anything.
You owe me an apology for even accusing me of taking your cookie.
Why would I apologize for something that happens to be a fact?
Who are you calling a fact, or what are you calling a fact? Now, gentlemen, there's plenty of cookies for everyone.
But if there was plenty of cookies for everyone, there wouldn't be enough. Because we are insatiable.
No, I meant to say there's plenty of cookies for us. Don't worry about everyone. Everyone is us.
Oh, that's right.
Gentlemen, there's plenty of cookies for us, of course. Not for everyone, but for us.